The propaganda is on every channel. They think we stupid like the truth is just too hard to handle. Put on your camo, it's a culture war and load the ammo. They want Antifa ruling everything like it's Seattle. And they want anyone who's fighting to be dead and canceled. They want rainbows in the classrooms and 15 different bathrooms and white guys that hate black dudes. They want war, they don't want peace. They want fentanyl in our streets. They want borders to be weak. I swear the devil lives in California. He a politician. He passing bills that bring chaos and division. Yeah, the devil lives in California. Should be in prison. He got horns, but he tries to keep them hidden. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that. They say that. They love America. We know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it. We ain't switching. Y'all are tripping. I guess God just built us different. They get celebrities to do they talking. They get mansions while they cram us all into apartments. Tell us it's cool to stay in school and then make you retarded. If you ain't liberal, then they treat you like you human garbage. If you speak up, then you a target. They want their voice through an amplifier. Violence and our flag on fire. No voter ID required. They want war, they don't want peace. They want defund the police. They want you surrounded by screens. The devil lives in California. He a politician. He passing bills that bring chaos and division. Yeah, the devil lives in California. Should be in prison. He got horns, but he tries to keep them hidden. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that. They say that. They love America. We know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it. We ain't switching. Y'all are tripping. I guess God just built us different, dog. The devil is a
Democrat. That's a fact, that's the truth. Look how bad that it gets when it's blue. The devil is a Democrat. That's a rap, it ain't news. And the way they treat America is proof. I swear the devil lives in California, $100 bills. He knows everyone in Hollywood and parties in the hills. Give you everything you ever wanted, plus a couple mil for your soul, and your vote is a deal.
Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that, they say that. They love America, we know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it, we ain't switching. Y'all are tripping, I guess God just built us different, dog. The devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that, they say that. They love America, we know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it, we ain't switching. Y'all are tripping, I guess God just built us different, dog. The devil is a Democrat.
Who's the black private dick? That's a sack machine to all the chicks. Damn right.
Welcome everyone to another live Radical Republican show live. Bringing at you unfiltered, uncensored, unedited, unapologetic, and definitely always unscripted. You never know what we're going to do unless we have a guest. And of course, we're in part 2 of our series, Communists and Negroes, part 2 tonight. And we're going to have a guest tonight. We'll have a guest tonight for the show. Miss Alfreda Baldwin from Take Charge US is going to be here. I'm bringing her here because I saw her on a video, pretty much talking about some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight. So Miss Alfreda Baldwin will be in the second hour. In the second hour of the show. Hope y'all had a great week. Thank you for tuning in. I see you, Carolyn. Louis, welcome back. I didn't run you off last week, huh, my man? It didn't run you off. That's a good thing, man. So welcome always, Susan, my turtle lady. Susan, she babysits sea turtles, man, and release sea turtles to the ocean. Make sure they hatch and make sure they get back and everything. So Susan, that's I call her my little sea turtle lady. welcome, Susan. Of course, my crew over there on Getter. You got TBB over there. Welcome, man. Appreciate you coming in. And it's going to be live over there in a little bit. My crew is always live over there. We get about 1,500 strong on the show over there on a weekly basis, 1,400 to 1,500. We get a couple in there that just makes themselves drunk and party. Party over there on Getter. Well, thank you. We are live on many stations. We are live on Getter. We're live on Roku TV. We're live on America Happens Network, the Maverick Broadcasting Channel. Of course, my channel, all on Rumble. We're on X. And when I feel like it, we're on Facebook. And definitely we are still on YouTube because they haven't kicked us off yet. So Carolyn's kicking us off early. Got Big Balls. Big Balls got tag team by a 15 and 14-year-old boy and a girl. Oh, yeah, that was like 2 weeks ago. He was helping someone out, and they roughed him up, kicked his butt a little bit. Big Balls had some big balls. He got a broken nose and some stuff. All right, so before we get started on part 2, because we're going to jump in really quick. So, of course, we have to hit our sponsors. And my number one sponsor is U.S. Diabetes Care. So that's usdiabetescare.com is the website, because we are in a diabetes epidemic. You know, I saw something today, a video, I think I may have posted on Facebook, that the flu shot is causing type 1 diabetes in toddlers and children. Yeah, man. Type 1 from the flu shot. Y'all need to stay away from those shots and vaccines, man. I need to stay away from them. I mean, literally, I haven't taken a vaccine in probably 25 years or 15 years or whatever it was, because I stopped taking them in the military. No, but before I retired, 2012? Yeah, so it's been about 13 to 20 years, somewhere within there. And I haven't been sick either. Man. I was not afraid of the China virus, that poison, that what they call epidemic. But we all know that was a biological weapon that was released on the public. And it's all coming out. Did you see where Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, now that everybody's getting cancer, they are pumping billions of dollars into their companies, into their oncology departments, their cancer departments, man. It is unbelievable. These people need to go to prison. the least is what they should do. Okay, so, but we are in a diabetes epidemic. Our country's in a diabetes epidemic caused by the addition of processed foods such as high fructose corn syrup, refined sugar, and refined wheat into our diets many, many years ago. The American Diabetes Association states it is a nationwide epidemic that affects over 38 million people in this country. U.S. Diabetes Care is a mission-driven health education company focused on ending the diabetes epidemic in America, not by prescribing more medications, but by teaching people how to reverse their condition through proven science-based lifestyle medicine. So who is U.S. Diabetes Care and what do we do? We don't sell a product, we teach a process. Our mission is to educate, empower, and transform lives by helping individuals reverse prediabetes, type 2, type 3, gestational diabetes, and insulin resistance, not just manage them. Over 90% of those who complete the program show measurable improvements, and many reverse their condition entirely. Why we're different? And I dropped my script. This is the only script I read too. Why we're different, why it works. Unlike most diabetes programs that focus on disease management, we focus on reversal. We don't promote a future of lifelong medications, blood sugar monitoring, and constant doctor visits. We help treat people. We help people treat the root cause, not just the symptoms, so they can take back control of their health. America, the U.S. Diabetes Care launches an app. So we have an app. The U.S. Diabetes Care has launched an innovative e-learning app designed to put evidence-based diabetes education, real-time glucose insights, and personalized lifestyle coaching directly into patients' hands. This launch is part of the company's Reverse and Thrive program, which integrates advanced continuous glucose monitoring technology with expert-led courses, nutritional guidance, and behavioral coaching, all aimed at not just managing, but reversing type 2 and type 3 diabetes. And I had the founder here, Tim Keller, was on the show. I'm going to have Tim Keller back because they are, he told me the other day that something big is happening with their company. And so I'm going to have Tim back on the show here to, I guess, tell us what it is, right? And let me see if I'm going to do the second one here. Yep, I think I will. I think I do the Wellness Company today. The Wellness Company in today's unpredictable world with health emergencies escalating from the recent measles outbreak. I'm going to have to update this in Texas and New Mexico. I'm going to have to update this to surge in the dengue cases across America. It is imperative to be prepared for any situation. The Wellness Company, a trusted name in health preparedness, offers a comprehensive range of emergency medical kits designed to equip you for unforeseen crises. The medical emergency kit is a must-have, providing a curated selection of essential medications and supplies to address common emergencies, ensuring you're not left vulnerable with immediate medical attention when immediate medical attention is not accessible. For those concerned about potential outbreaks, the Contagion Emergency Kit offers a vital tools and protective gear to help safeguard you and your loved ones during viral threats. Additionally, the First Aid Emergency Kit is a versatile solution ideal for treating minor injuries and ailments, making it an indispensable addition to your home, car, or workplace. Visit twc.health/MBN today and use code MBN for an exclusive 10% off your order. Ensure you're prepared for whatever it takes with the Wellness Company's emergency kits, because it's time at times like these, readiness is not an option, it's a necessity. And I believe Mamba still works there too. So if you want to go twc.health/Mamba, Mamba gets you the same discount. It will. So, okay, now that all that's out of the way. Lily Bees, welcome. I see you, Carolyn. Lily Bees. All right, let's see. TBB, where everybody at, man? Where's the crew? Hey, Pure Blood, hope you're feeling better. Over there in Getter. Hope you're feeling better. You're here, so I think you're feeling better, right? All right, so how'd you guys like that song, man? Wasn't that song from Tom McDonald? That was Tom McDonald's. Thanks, Tom. His newest song out, man. The Devil is a Democrat. Love that, man. I think we're going to go out on that too tonight, man. That was hot. That is fire. All right, so let's get started. All right, so Last week, man, we exposed the commie threat from CP USA Soviet roots, right? I got so many notes, man, from this stuff. It's unbelievable. I don't know why. It's just notes for this, not scripts, but notes. All right. Doing a bunch, man. I just got back, man. Me and the family around had dinner. I literally came back into the studio 5 minutes before showtime. 5 minutes. So if I sound like I'm out of breath, I'm full, man. I had a great meal with the fam, well, my wife and mother-in-law anyway. And so I'm just getting back in the studio. 5 minutes. So we're rolling. Okay, so from CPUSA Soviet roots to today's government, just like McCarthy's HUAC feared. Part one last week. If you missed part one, it's recorded. Go check it out. Part one. Okay, so we hit on Trotsky. We're gonna hit Trotsky more, and find out more about him today. Don West, who was the leader and the founder of the Highland School that MLK and Rosa Parks went to. So we talked about MLK, Malcolm X, Claudia Jones, Angela Davis. We talked about how AOC is literally a communist, right? She's using the same speeches and the same communist plan that Claudia Jones used. Okay. And groups like CAA, which is the Council on African Affairs, and the ILD, International Labor Defense, Highlander, and DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. And those are commies, and they're like 80,000 strong here in America. And you got Bernie Sanders, you got the dude, the mayor, that's running in New York, and AOC and those people. I just say people. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna try to be nice. So women drove civil rights. They, like I said, these are educated. These are very educated women. A lot of women, and they want to put women in front because why? Because what did we talk about last week? Right? Sex, right? Gender, right? And class. This is what they do. So they try to put the women out front because it's hard to, go against a woman, and in these times, right? They want to call you misogynist, which is a made-up term, misogynistic. You want to be transgender, transphobic. All these different names, right? So the women, that drove these civil rights as reds, and they are. So tonight we're gonna dive deeper into Trotsky's 1933 Black Belt thesis. We're gonna talk about Harry Haywood's Comintern resolutions. We're gonna dive deeper into the Scottsboro 9 case. I told you about that. I'm gonna play a clip about the Scottsboro 9 case too with and Ruby Bates. Ruby Bates is one of the ladies that said she was raped, and she recanted in 1933. We're gonna talk about the Martinsville 7 and Willie McGee's cases as Jim Crow's transversities. Actually travesties. Manning Johnson, and that's one thing Alfreda is going to be on about. We're going to talk about Manning Johnson again in his book. I left his book downstairs. I'm going to play something because I really have to run down and get this book because I'm going to read that. So on a break, I'm actually going to take a break, right? And run down and get this. But Julia Brown, you guys heard Julia Brown. I played Julia Brown last night in her HUAC Bombshells in 1962. The We Charge Genocide. So we're just going to jump into so much today and over the next 2 weeks. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump into segment 1 first before I jump into Manning, to Manning Johnson, so I can go get the book. Okay, so Trotsky's 33 Black Belt thesis. Harry Haywood, last week, like I said, if you missed last week, go back and watch last week because I introduced all of these people to you, right? Introduce the people, the players, so here's and so things I'm going to talk about this week. If you feel lost, go back and watch next week, okay? Because it's just so much. And with me having a guest, I'm gonna try to cover as much as I can up until she comes on anyway. And then after, I'm not sure. I think she might be here for 30 minutes. But Harry Haywood, co-attorney in resolution, Scottsboro 9 case. So, in a We Charge Genocide petition, so Leon Trotsky's 33 Black Belt thesis, it was discussed in Prinkipo, Turkey. They plan and do all this stuff overseas. Then they bring it over here to the United States, right? They had people from the Communist Party USA go over to Russia and learn all this stuff, right? So Turkey with Arne Swayback, who pushed self-determination for Black Americans in the South's Black Belt, as an oppressed nation. So this is what they were saying. Okay, we were so oppressed, and like I said before, if we were so oppressed, right? All of these people have college degrees. I think except one, except Claudia Jones, I think. All of them are college educated. All of the people that are in the Democrat Party that preach basically the same thing that the Communist Party USA teaches, all college educated people, right? This is why I can't stand the Black people who push this nonsense on the Democrat Party, because they've made it, they've had college degrees, but then they tell a younger Black kid that he can't do it because Whitey is keeping him down because of racism, because he's Black, right? Okay, so this thesis, it built on Harry Haywood's 1928 and 1930 Comintern resolutions framing Black Americans as a colonized nation, saying that we were colonized by Whitey, by the white, Americans, adopted by the CPUSA to guide racial justice strategy. Okay, the Scottsboro 9 case, it lasted from 1931 to 1937, where 9 Black youths were falsely accused of rape in Alabama. Why Alabama, man? Alabama was like this cornerstone place, right? I guess that was the Black Southern Belt where a lot of this communism transpired, and it's in Tennessee because the school, where they learned. So it became CPUSA's rallying cry. And listen, when I tell you these stories, and when I tell you what these rally cries are, listen to what the rally cries are from the Democrat Communist Party today. It's the same thing. And we're talking back from the 1930s, okay? So this is was the CPUSA's rallying cry with the International Labor Defense. They raised $1 million back in the 30s, $1 million, and mobilized 500,000 plus protesters globally, part of the New York archives. Got that from the archives. So think about what they're doing now, right? You see the protesters in New York, you see the protesters, right, all over, about the same thing. So Ruby Bates' 1933 recantation admitting no rape occurred, it shook the case, but it didn't free the defendants immediately. You would think that they would get out though, right? Because she did recant. So this was a big thing, and they did that on purpose, okay? Then you have the Martinsville 7 from 1949, 1951, Willie McGee cases. These were where Black men were executed for alleged rapes of white women in Virginia and Mississippi. I mean, this was like an ongoing thing, right? I mean, you guys heard about Emmett Till whistling at the white woman, right? That didn't happen. You had these alleged rapes of white women in Virginia and Mississippi. So it exposed Jim Crow. This really did expose Jim Crow's what they call legal lynchings, but it was not. And then you have Manny Johnson, who was a Harlem CPUSA leader. Manny Johnson was deep. I think he was, he said that he was in there for 10 years. He was in the Communist Party for 10 years. And he was a leader in the Communist Party from 1930 to 1940. And he exposed the CPUSA's Soviet agenda in his book that we're going to talk about. This is the book I'm going to go grab because I forgot to bring it up because I was late coming into the studio. Damn it, I was eating. Color, Communism, and Common Sense. So I'm going to read some things to you from that. This is actually probably more interesting than what I'm going to tell you tonight. And there's 1958 HUAC testimony. So it claiming that it exploited, which it did, cases like the Scottsboro 9, Martinsville, McGee, and then you have the present day cases. You got the George Floyd, right? You got the Trayvon Martin cases. These are the same type things that they use to spark the racial strife, right? They use these to spark the racial strife. Julia Brown's 1962 testimony about the HUAC, it detailed the CPUSA's infiltration of 200 plus, but it was like 400 churches in the end, right? And so Manny Johnson warned of a bloody racial conflict. This is what they want. This is what the Communist Party really, really wanted. They wanted a racial war. They wanted a racial war, and they still do. If you look at the Democrat Party today, right, they still want that racial war. It's communism. It is communism, okay? And and I talked about how Martin Luther King, he was a catalyst of it. But in 1967, he gave an interview, I think, at NBC. It was when he was saying America's house is on fire, and he felt he had led his people to a burning house because he saw what the Communist Party was doing. He saw that they were that he was being used, and black people were being used by the Communist Party to keep this racial strife going. Okay, and what the We Charge Genocide petition was about, it accused, and this went to the United Nations, right? It accused the United States of black genocide. From the lynchings and the hangings, citing Martinsville and the McGee cases, it drew global attention from the globally, and it got U.S. backlash. Which, okay, lynching was a bad thing, I get it, and I'm not saying it wasn't, and it was happening, and it was a bad thing, right? But they kept it going and kept pushing the global strife, just like the Democrat Socialist Party of America, the Communists, Democrats. 2021 platform. And if you look at when Kamala Harris ran 2024, it was echoing the same thing with the DEI, right? It was echoing the same thing with the DEI. So all of it ties in together with the Democrat Party. Okay, so key figures of night: Leon Trotsky, in his 1933 Communist International article. It urged, like I said, it urged black self-determination, which is fine. I mean, we were good before the communists came, to be honest. We were doing just fine. So he met CPA USA leaders in 1937 in Mexico, always out of the country, right? And per the New York Times is what he said. They say they met, and it was about the Negro can be developed to class standpoint only when the white worker is educated. So this is what they were saying. When the white worker is educated, they're smart enough to develop the Negro basically into a pawn. So that's what they meant about 1937. Harry Haywood was a black CPUSA leader who authored 1928-1930 the Comintern resolutions, advocated for the black belt area, self-determination, just like Leon Trotsky, right? And he was a HUAC target. He died in 1985. The Negro Nation in the Black Belt is a key to revolutionary struggle, is what he quoted. So this is what he was saying. These are things he was saying, all communists, right? And this was a black person, right? So you have Manning Johnson, which I'm going to go through. Manning Johnson, he joined 1930, left in 1940 after Stalin's purges. Stalin purged a lot of, Trotsky was one of them, right? Because Stalin wasn't playing this anymore. So Stalin got rid of a bunch of his comrades, as they called it, right? And purges in the CP USA here. Stalin told him go get lost, right? Trotsky was one. He got exiled from Russia. Manning Johnson became an FBI informant from 1940 to 1959. He was 19 years. 19 years he was an FBI informant, and he testified in 1958 at the HUAC. And he was saying that the Communist Party seek to advance the revolution through racial turmoil. This is why the Democrat Party, this is all they talk about is race, right? Everybody in the Democrat Party, whether they know it or not, right, are brainwashed in communism. This is what the Communist Party wanted to do. Continue the revolution through racial turmoil. Okay, Julia Brown, we talked about her last week. I don't think I need to go into Julia Brown. William Patterson, we talked about him a little bit. Now, he was the lawyer that actually defended the Scottsboro Nine. Okay, he defended them. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to play this. I should have this here. I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to share my screen. Then I'm going to disappear for a second. I'm going to play this and about the Scottsboro Nine. And I'll let you listen to this for a second. And I'll be right back.
Well, the American Communist Party is formed in 1919. Many people in the Industrial Workers of the World, or the IWW, a syndicalist organization, helped form the American Communist Party. Many foreign nationals joined this party, and they're all, of course, inspired by the Russian Revolution. There is a split in the party. You have the American Communist Party and another party, but they both joined in 1920. And it's a small organization. But once Lenin gives the edict that it is the job of American communists to work for national liberation, the American Communist Party then dedicates itself to this cause and targeting, in particular, African Americans, who they see as a especially oppressed population. So they recruit blacks and they move them quickly up the ladder into the Communist Party. And the Communist Party attract support from African Americans. But what helps the American Communist Party is sensational events, and one of them being the Scottsboro case in 1931, where 9 young men ranging from the ages 14 to 21 were arrested and accused of raping 2 white women on the train. They were part of this great mass of humanity riding the rails, going from town to town looking for jobs. So once they are arrested and they're accused of rape, they are quickly tried in Scottsboro, and all except for the youngest one are sentenced to death. While the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People hemmed and hawed over, is this the right case for us? The American Communist Party wasted no time in running to the defense of Scottsboro young men, hiring an attorney to defend them, and attempting to try the case in the international public opinion, the court of public opinion, as well as in the courtroom. And in the long run, they managed to save the lives of these young men.
Let me pop this. Okay, so that's Scottsboro. A little bit about the Scottsboro 9 case, okay? Dude. Okay, so I'm gonna read a couple of things. So this is the book, right? This is the book, Manning Johnson. So I'm gonna read a couple of things out of here real quick. And well, one thing in particular, it says the red plot. So they talk about communism. The red plot to use Negroes, stirring up race and class conflict, is the basis of all discussion of the Communist Party's work in the South. Who does that sound like? But it's not even in the South. Isn't that the Democrat Party? Isn't that the Democrat Party? They want to keep race going. They have to. They have to keep race going. Paul Robeson was part of that. He co-presented the We Charge Genocide petition to the UN. And his quote was, "The Negro people's fight is America's fight." Ruby Bates, accused in the Scottsboro case, recanted in 1933, admitting that no rape occurred, but they kept those boys in jail just to do the case. They know they were innocent. So they really didn't save the William Patterson, and they really didn't save their lives because she recanted. So I guess they did kinda, but they had to go through the case to keep it in the public eye, just like they have to keep things in the public eye. The George Floyd Memorial, and I mean, you see all of these things. You see the kid that killed the boy down in Houston, okay, or whatever. The black kid that stabbed him, he's going to jail. He's going to prison. There's no way he can claim self-defense for that. I mean, so you got, like, say, the key organizations and the overview. You have the CAA, of course, IOD. You have the Civil Rights Congress coming in 1946, 1956, and they authored the We Charge Genocide petition. They documented 152 killings. Now, this is supposed to be mass genocide. This is supposed to be genocide. We want to talk about genocide. Check out what's happening over in Gaza. Just saying, ooh, just threw that bomb out there. Threw that hand grenade out there. So they documented 152 killings, 344 violent incidents, including the Martinsville 7 and Willie McGee in this We Charge Genocide. So they were claiming that 152 killings, and they were claiming genocide. Okay, so that's what they sent to the UN. So Traskey's 33 black belt thesis details his overview. So this is the overview of his thesis I want to get to. It was published in February 28th, 1933 in Communist International, of course, in the Communist International. And it argued, and here's the thing too, right? So you have these white liberals. So let me backtrack just a little bit. Anti-white liberalism, the wokies to the commies, right? The white liberals are the same people that Malcolm X warned us about, okay? The wokies and the white liberals are the same as the communists in this way. They argued, this is what they did, Trotsky, okay, his black thesis argued black Americans in the South were an oppressed nation. Just like the white liberals do today, right? You notice how white liberals always want to speak up for black. They really don't give a shit about black people, right? But they feel like they always have to speak up for black people. We're oppressed. Black Lives Matter. You see the white people out there with their shirts, Black Lives Matter, right? The white liberals. Yeah, we already know that. You don't have to be out there, right? And I don't need your approval to tell me that Black Lives Matter, right? But this is a Trotskyism. This is what they do. So the content it cited the content in the thesis. It cited sharecropping and Jim Crow as a colonial exploitation, proposing black-led Soviets and white worker alliances. So again, this is black people, black-led Soviets, right? This is what they call black-led Soviets, just like the black-led liberals of the Democrat Party and the white worker alliances and the white liberals. The Negro question is a lever for revolution, because when you talk to a true or real black, we don't need anybody to validate who we are. Black people don't need, and strong black people don't need anyone to validate who we are. We validate for ourselves. We can speak for ourselves. But the white liberal or the white communist feel that it's their job to speak up for us because we're not educated enough. That's one thing. This is why they like to dumb down the education system, is to keep black people, and we were very educated people. You see, all the black people in here, they were talking about college degrees in the 30s, in the 20s and 30s, Harvard, Ivy League educations. Okay, then you had a CPUSA adoption built on Haywood's 2829 resolutions, and it sort of shaped the idea of Scottsboro defense. So you had black nationalists like Garvey. So they're talking about, and I'm not a Garvey fan, let me tell you, okay? So because but Garvey did reject it as divisive. Okay, Garvey was a Pan-African. Okay, I'm not into really Pan-Africanism or whatever the case is, because they talked about, all black people should go back to Africa. And then we talk about Marcus Garvey, okay? All black people should go back to Africa. No, we shouldn't, because this is the black people. This is our country, Black Americans. Okay, what we call FBAs, Foundational Black Americans. Okay, this is our country. We don't need to go back to Africa. Africa is not our country. We're fine right here. We're black nationalists here in the USA, and that's not being communist, right? But so in 1959, the CPUSA, they dropped that, okay? And so the resolution on details on Haywood's commentary resolution, I'm giving you some overview stuff, because if I went totally in depth and stuff, we would be here for probably a year, okay? Give you some of this stuff just to maybe go look up, maybe to think about, and I'm just tying this into the Democrat Party today, the Communist Party today, right? And if you study communism here in the United States, you'll see that communism has been here since the 20s, since the 30s, trying to subvert America and cause a race war here in America. And you see it every day on MSNBC, right? If you watch that, CNN, if you watch that, I mean, I get clips and stuff from because I have a show, and they're nothing but commies, man. All right, so Harry Haywood's Black CPUSA, his the Negro question at the Sixth World Congress in Moscow. Notice how they go, man, right? He submitted this Comintern resolutions over in Moscow. Why do these people always have to go over to Moscow to these different countries, right? He was influenced by Lenin's, and his thesis or his resolution was influenced by Lenin's 1920 thesis and Stalin's national question writings. The resolutions framed Black Americans in the Black Belt. Why they call it the Black Belt? I guess because that's where the so-called slaves may be, and that's where a lot of Black people, lived, and I guess pretty much. But there were a lot of Black people in the North too. So they the Black Belt as an oppressed nation, and you're gonna keep hearing that, with the right to self-determination, including a potential separate state. Okay, so now what are we defending over or not defending? I don't know if we're defending it or not defending it. Whether which side you're on. I'm gonna switch over to Israel and Gaza, right? And I have to say that because those Gazans have right to self-determination. So we have people here in America fighting for the self-determination of Black people, including a potential separate state. Isn't that what the Palestinians want, right? Now we fight for that here for Black people. Isn't that the same thing? Isn't that the same thing? Why aren't we fighting for the Gazans, the oppressed nation? Because everybody knows they're oppressed. I don't give a shit what you say. Oh yeah, Israel has a right. Stop, man. All right, yeah, they have a right to exist. Whatever, they bought the state in 1948. Shit, they paid for it. They paid the British for it in 1948. So I guess they have the receipt. Whatever. But but including a potential separate state. But when we talk about that, and we tell people that about Gaza and Palestine, people look at us like we're crazy. Okay, all right. I'm just saying. But anyway. So 1920 resolution titled "The Negro National Questions" argued Black Americans constituted a nation within a nation. So you see how they was trying to divide. Okay, this is one nation, is America, and this is why they continue want to flood this country with illegals. They want to bring over refugees, and and for the record, I am not down with the refugees coming over from Gaza. They have other countries they can go to. I'm just not. I'm not a big refugee resettlement person, because if you look across the centuries and across the world, when you start refugees, you look at Lebanon. Lebanon used to be the Paris of the West, right? And they started bringing in, refugees from Jordan and refugees from all these other countries. Then it became what it is now. Look at Sweden. I saw something in Sweden. And I heard within 10 years, the Swedish people are going to be the minority because they brought in so many Muslims and so many people from these other countries, and the unfettered immigration. Okay, so this resolution, so it talked about the economic oppression, the cultural distinctionness, right? The national, again, the Negro national question called for the CPUSA to prioritize Black liberation, linking it to global anti-imperialism. So these are the same things that they talk about today. These are the same things that they talk about today, okay? And so what the impact was on this, it shaped the CPA's racial justice strategy that they're using today, okay? It guided the IOD, Scottsboro Defense, and all that. So this is what Trotsky's Black Belt thesis, pretty much the framework that he put in, okay? And you see it today. The Trotskyism is real here, okay? You had integrations like W.B. Du Bois and the NAACP, which opposed separatism, okay, favoring civil rights. And I still say today, and I'll say it with my full chest, right? Because I know Black people were educated in the 20s and 30s. I know, yeah, times may have been a little difficult, but times weren't as bad. We were doing pretty good, okay? So I'm not a separatist or whatever, because I love people. I love all Americans. But when you look at the big scheme of things, the education and the demise, especially in the 70s when you start talking about the welfare. I think that was all to get black people down, to get what was happening after with the civil rights movement and after the civil rights movement has been worse for black people as a whole. As a whole, integration hasn't been good. A desegregation, maybe not integration, but desegregation, really on a big scale, hasn't worked for a lot of black people. Scottsboro 9 case with Ruby Bates. Like I said, the overview on that, March 25, 1931 is when it happened. 9 black youths. I'm not going to name their names. It's Hayward Patterson, Clarence Norris, Charlie Weems, Andy Wright, Roy Wright, Ozzie Powell, Willie Roberson, Eugene Williams, and Ola Montgomery were arrested. And in Paint Rock, Alabama, falsely accused of raping 2 white women, Ruby Bates and Victoria Price. And this is one of the reasons why those boys, they end up staying in jail, is because Victoria Price did not recant her story. Ruby Bates was the one that recanted and said it didn't happen, but Victoria Price did not. So they held them in jail, in prison, on Victoria Price's testimony and not recanting. So this is why they had really why they had to continue the case. Okay. And they were all convicted by all white jury within 2 weeks, with that case. Okay. In 1933, Bates wrote a letter to the IOD admitting that she lied due to fear and coercion that it didn't happen. Okay, so they had a retrial in 1933, April 6, 1933. She testified no rape occurred, citing Sheriff M.L. Wann's coaching. Right, so this was the sheriff that coached her on that. So it was a young girl. She was scared, and this is what they do. I'm sure they still do today as well. So I'm just checking out some key events and stuff in there. So we just keep rolling on that. Hold on, I gotta go back to this. I dumped like my page on my not my script, but my notes that I have on this. And somehow I went to 2 pages and I can't read that stuff like that. I have to do it. But yeah, Carolyn, I mean, we've been doing that crap for years, although it was called forced migration, right? Yeah, that's what they call it. Okay, so I'm gonna read a couple of more excerpts from the book. From and you can tell it's like the commie Democrat Party. Okay, so Manning. Okay, so white leftists defended Negro communities like locusts, posing as friends, come to help liberate their black brothers. So along with these white communist missionaries came Negro political Uncle Toms to LA. The Negroes' distrust and fears of these strangers. Everything was interracial. It was an interracialism artificially created, cleverly disguised or devised as camouflage of the red, again, the communist plot to use the Negro. I mean, it's just, and then next, and this was a guy, Manning Johnson, who infiltrated the Communist Party USA. Man, I don't want to see it like this. Hold on, I gotta fix this. But anyway, okay, so we'll keep going. Because I got 2 pages. Anybody wanna, how do I fix this? All right, so I'm reading like double pages, 2 pages on here. So I'm gonna have, it's a split screen. That's what's happening. Got a split screen on my computer right now. So I just had to figure out how to. This is why I need a producer, man. This is why I need a producer. Seriously, because I can't be doing this. All right, so COINTELPRO. All right, so the BPP women, the Black Panther Party women in Fred Hampton speech of 1969. So we just jump to that because no, actually I want to jump back to Highlander, okay, in the women's roles. I think we did that last week though. No, okay, so these are the women. Don West Highlander's folk school, okay, like it was founded in 1932 in Montego, Tennessee. It trained people like Septima Clark, Rosa Parks, and MLK. So we did that, right? And they got the voters, over 100,000 voters of that. Septima Clark trained Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks trained others. She went and sparked a boycott. We did that. And I'm trying to get out of here. I think my thing, it just totally screwed me up today. My notes. But we're going to have a guest here in about 5 minutes anyway. So, okay, that's part 3 of 3. Okay. So I'm gonna get this fixed, but I'm gonna wait for my guests. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have Alfreda Baldwin on here. Let me introduce you to this real quick. It's called Take Charge US, and when she gets on, we're gonna talk about that. It's an organization. I'm looking at the board members. They have a Christian school. They have a lot of good stuff here, man. This is awesome. So the mission here is to inspire and educate Black and other minority communities of their full rights and privileges as Americans granted to them by the Constitution. This is Take Charge US. Okay, it's about life, family, and community. And they say we desire to take charge of our own lives, which is good, the lives of the children. And they desire Americans, all Americans, right, to take lives of their children, not to rely on the government for politicians politicians for redemption or prosperity, because this is where a lot of us rely on these politicians and stuff, right? And we can't do that. And I'm still trying to fix this while I talk to you guys. Where's my layout or view? Pissed off right now. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Boom. All right. I think I got it back now. Oh no. Okay. Some read mode, man. I'm having some issues here. This is ridiculous. Okay, that's first part 2. Okay. Okay, I think I got it now. I'm grooving. I am grooving. I think I'm gonna check out the chat in a second. Before she gets here. There you go, part 2. Okay. All right, cool. All right, I'm back on point now. Thank y'all for bearing with me, man. This is some stuff, man. This is some stuff. All right, so yeah, so we're gonna talk about the Highlands women, but we're gonna talk about COINTELPRO for actually after we get back. But it was launched in 1956 on with J. Edgar Hoover, and that was supposed to catch the communists. What do you guys think about the HUAC? Do you guys think we should bring the HUAC back? Do y'all think we should bring the HUAC back? Yeah, it was nice having dinner with the family. You know, do y'all think that we have enough, or we are under a fight of communism taking over the United States, that we truly need to bring the HUAC back? Hey, Jackie over there on Rumble Land. Hey, Jackie. Because I like I said, I ran on bringing the HUAC back because I saw, and this was in 2022 when I ran. I saw the communism here in the United States. I mean, I saw it, and it's like we have to get rid of the communism in this country, and getting rid of the communists in this country means we have to destroy the Democrat Party. I think we have to destroy and get rid of the Democrat Party. because unfortunately it has been taken over by the communists. And a lot of people that still follow the Democrat Party, especially elderly people that trusted Martin Luther King, trusted the civil rights movement, especially the ones that grew up in the South. The ones that grew up in the North, I think they were smart enough to decipher when the bullshit was going on because it wasn't affecting them. I mean, you had blacks out in California. None of this was affecting them. None of it. They were living fine. You had in Harlem, black people were doing fine in Harlem, man. The Harlem Renaissance, black in the 20s and 30s, man, black people were grooving, man, would dress nice, man. They had the zoot suits. Like I said, we were doing our thing, man, you know, and I think, like I said, when the communists took over and the Communist Party of USA and they started bringing in all the strife, I'm with you, Louis, man. Bring the HUAC back, man. Let's bring it back and set this shit straight, you know. And I'm hoping my guest comes in. She'll be here in a moment, hopefully. Let me check. I really probably should check my phone and make sure she wasn't having any issues. So, and there she is. Miss. Okay, I'm gonna bring on. So, like I said, let me. I'm gonna introduce her to you all. She's one of the board members of Take Charge. Okay, her name is Miss Alfreda Baldwin. She's a chair of the board, and Alfreda is a Chicago area native, a retired attorney. Okay, she was in House Counsel at Securing and Financial for 32 years. After retirement, Ms. Baldwin started volunteering in her school district. I know that I'm gonna have to ask about that, man, because I know the Chicago school district is kind of rough. I think. I guess it just depends on where you live at. So being with elementary students, I guess the elementary kids probably weren't that bad, caused her to reflect on education she had received while attending a Lutheran grade school. And it led her to want to start a Christian school accessible to families of all ethnic and financial backgrounds. And they do have an academy. I believe it's called the Washington Academy. But I'm going to let Ms. Alfreda Baldwin tell you that. Ms. Baldwin, welcome to the Radical Republicans live show, madam.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for coming on short notice. I know I saw you on a video, and we were talking about, like, when I had emailed you, I was talking about communism and Negroes, communism and Negroes here in the United States, and how the communists are pretty much responsible for a lot of the strife that has been bred here in the United States,
Right.
and with the Democrat Party. I call the Democrat Party the Communist Party here in the United States. But I gave you a small introduction. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, and because you can introduce yourself and talk about yourself better than I could. And take time to introduce yourself. You have the floor, ma'am.
Yeah. So I was born in Chicago, raised there, went to law school in Illinois, moved to Minnesota over 40 years ago. So I'm actually in Minnesota, and that's where I practiced law, got married, raised my family, and I was volunteering here in Minnesota in my local school district. When I began to see the fruits of the communist, I did not know that that is what I was seeing. I just knew I was seeing some really crazy stuff. And that was kind of the beginning of a shift in my own attitude about things. I confessed to people I voted for Obama twice because, I don't know, I was under some spirit of delusion, I guess.
We say most people are brainwashed, and I'm not saying brainwashed in a bad way, but everybody wanted the black president. I didn't vote for Obama, and I'm pat myself on the back. I mean, but most everybody did. I mean, 98%. I mean, even the majority of white people voted for Obama,
right,
as well.
Well, I mean, so growing up, black I was born in 56, so before the Civil Rights Act was passed. My parents were conservative, but they were Democrats, and everybody we knew.
Right.
I mean, there was one family in our neighborhood, they were Republicans, and my friends and I thought they were crazy. Well, it turns out they were the same ones.
Right.
But we didn't know it. We didn't see it that way. And so I don't know what spell they cast over all of us. But I look back on it and I'm like, I don't understand why any of us ever supported them. I don't understand why Manning Johnson, for example, never heard of the man until within the last 10 years.
Right.
Never heard of Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams. These people who should be well known, you just never heard of them.
These people that should be part of, if we want to call it, the Black history education,
right,
in the public school system. These people should be part of that. But like, and this is why I did this series, Communism and Negroes, because as I, like you, I grew up in a Democrat household, but my family was conservatives. I mean, and when you start looking back at it, Black people have always been conservative, and it was the Republican Party and the free men and the free slaves that actually started the Republican Party. And so we were always conservatives, and the Republicans were always, they voted for the Civil Rights Act. The Democrat Party didn't. They voted for the Voting Rights Act. The Democratic Party, I mean, they filibustered that type stuff. And so once you start looking at history, the true history of it, and actually reading for yourselves and not listening to, what I call the boule and the gatekeepers of the Communist Party, because one of the things that I found interesting that Manning Johnson wrote in his book, and I've been reading his book for the past couple of weeks. He said the communists try to exploit these national, racial, and religious differences in order to weaken and undermine and subjugate America to Moscow. Isn't this what the Democrat Party does? Isn't it the same thing that they do on a daily basis? You see these, these commentators. You see, and it seems like it's always the communists that get these shows, right? They want to watch the MSNBC. They want to watch the CNNs, and things of this nature. But I call them gatekeepers. The Al Sharptons on all these guys. All these people are communists in my book.
Well, I can't disagree with you. And sadly, we need to go back to MLK. Even I really don't feel like celebrating that holiday anymore because I don't trust what I thought I knew about him anymore.
Come on, you're Uncle Tom now. Come on. These are the names they call us, right? We're Coons or Uncle Toms because we don't agree. So let me ask you this, because this is one of the things that I proposed last week when I started this series. Was Dr. Martin Luther King duped? Did he know what he was doing? Because in 1968, when he made that statement, or 1967 when he made that statement, I fear on NBC, I fear that I have led my people into a burning house. Was he waking up to, or was he confessing? Which one was it, do you think?
He might have been confessing. I mean, I don't know. He was saying things that sounded like he supported some of the communist positions. But he could have been blind too. I mean, I don't understand why we couldn't see this playbook that Johnson talked about, because it had been in the works since 1928.
Right.
So I was a child when King was assassinated, but all of these adults around me, it's like, why couldn't any of you see something was wrong? Why were you going along with all of this? So maybe they were all under some spell of delusion. I don't know. And maybe he was a dupe and then woke up and realized it and was contrite. I don't know.
I mean, because we had Julia Brown and, like, say, Manning Johnson was both part of the Communist Party of USA. Julia Brown was undercover, I guess. And they called her a traitor to her race because she was an FBI informant. But there were others like Manning Johnson. I mean, and they came out in testimony, right, and told everybody. I mean, they told everybody what was going on. They were undercover, but we still didn't. I call it Stockholm syndrome or cognitive dissonance, whatever you want to call it. I think it's more Stockholm syndrome, because we didn't want to think that someone like Dr. Martin Luther King, like Rosa Parks, who have proved here last week that they both got trained
Yeah.
at the Highland School,
Yeah.
Highland Folk School in Tennessee. You know, they and she, I mean, and so they trained and brought all of that back. And this is a lot of these Communist Party, they've gone to Russia and come back, right? And it's almost the same thing you see the Democrat Communist Party of today. They preach the same thing. I'm gonna prove later in the show or next week how AOC is the new, right? Is the new Democrat Socialist of America. How her speeches are the same speeches that Claudia Jones was giving in the 1920s and 30s. It's unbelievable when you actually start looking at these. And one of the things, and you know, we don't want to say, you know, that Martin Luther King was this bad person. You know, I'm not gonna spit on a man's grave, but he didn't really do us any justice.
No,
and the big things, and that's really the sad part, right?
Right. Well, I don't know if you know who Chad Jackson is. Chad O. Jackson. He is working on this documentary where he's supposedly going to tell the whole untold story about what really was going on with MLK. And he's a young Black man who's just adamant that we have turned someone who should not be a saint into a saint. And he actually hurt Black people more than he helped. So I'm anxious to see what he's uncovered. You know, again, I don't know. I don't know what was going on, why people couldn't see. And, you know, you heard about Joe McCarthy and McCarthyism and how.
Yeah, we talked about that and who,
yeah, he's made out to be the devil. And I now believe he may not have been a nice man, but I kind of think he was onto something.
Well, he was, and you know, that's one of the things. I mean, and see, and this one, and to tell my audience, they know, but I never meet or really talk to. That's why, you know, I asked you come on and you're about the guest, and you know, the questions that you ask me, you know, what questions I may ask, because my show is totally unscripted, and I never speak with my guests prior to my show, and I keep it like that so we can have a, you know, candid conversation, you know, without any scripts, right? And you just said. The one thing that I've been talking about since last week, the HUAC and Joe McCarthy, and I ran on bringing the HUAC back. I ran for Congress in 2020 and 2022 in the state of Virginia, and I ran on bringing back the HUAC of Joe McCarthy because McCarthy was definitely right about there being communism here in the United States.
Right.
You know, and so and so what do you think about, I guess, the Kamala Harris thing? And I want to, you know, and I ask a lot of Black women this about Kamala because I don't think she was Black. I know she's not Black. She's Indian, whatever. Right. So that's where I stand on that. But as far as the DEI and the CRT and the things that they preach, because these are the same trainings that they were doing with the Communist Party. What was this more of the Communist Party takeover, more duping of Black people? Because it seems like we still won't wake up. It seems like Black women, you know, and I'm gonna have to put it out there. It seems like Black women, the majority still will not wake up. And why do you think that is? If you think I'm correct, and if I'm not, you can tell me.
Oh no. I agree with you entirely. First of all, every time they would refer to her as Black, I would scream at the top of my lungs on TV, she is not Black. So that drove me crazy. I mean, that just made me absolutely insane. And then she was just so incompetent. I was insulted as a
Black woman. As a black woman, you should, yeah.
I was insulted. I wonder, did they actually think that woman could win? I mean, it was almost like, let's put up this woman who is so terrible. It's just going to cast Black women in bad light.
Mhm.
It's like Ketanji Brown on the Supreme Court.
Oh, geez.
I mean,
Yeah.
why would you? Those people, those women are the worst candidates to represent Black women. Even if Kamala had been Black, she was a poor representation. I mean, seriously, you think about the remarkable Black women who live today, who lived in the past, and this is what we get. It's like, are you trying to make us look bad? And Black women are going along with it. They are blind to the fact that we are being made to look like idiots.
Do you think the Democrat Party took that L on purpose? So they knew she couldn't win. They knew she wasn't going to win. I don't think they had anybody that was going to beat Trump anyway. So basically, I think they sacrificed her. I think they sacrificed her and her career to get her out of the way because there's no way she could ever win anything again. So do you think they took that L on purpose to appease Black people to have a Black presidential female candidate?
That's possible. Plus, I wonder sometimes if there's stuff going on one side, and meanwhile they're doing something far worse on the other side. So was she a distraction? Did they sacrifice her and let her lose so that now who knows what they're planning that we aren't paying attention to because everybody's too busy being Trump deranged?
a lot of people being Trump deranged. So hey, I'm gonna read something here out of this book, Manny Johnson's book, and it says and on this one page it says everybody was talking about the overcrowding in Harlem Hospital. So a group of Negroes believing in doing something for yourself came up with the idea of a Negro community effort to found a hospital. They saw in such a project a chance to render great service to the people in the community and to show the nation and the world an example of Negro resourcefulness. Jews, Catholics, Presbyterians, and others founded hospitals, so why not Negroes? But it says the communists were not interested in a Negro hospital founded by Negroes, and redounding to their credit, such a project would take away a key issue in racial agitation, radicalization, and isolation, and isolate the Reds, though the communists. So they acted swiftly, decisively through their Negro intellectual tools and community to kill the project. And we still have no Black hospitals today. We still have no, and why is that? Is it because of that still?
Well, so I'm born in Chicago, which is where Oprah made her millions, right?
Billions, yeah.
There's
for sure.
another woman, a Black woman, who was married to George Lucas. She's down there in Chicago, or was. Barack Obama is from Chicago. With all of those very rich, powerful people in that space, you would have thought that somehow or another, a group of successful, powerful Black people would have gotten together and put together a project to revitalize the South Side, the West Side, some side. There's nothing. That has to be because they don't care to do it. They've got theirs. They don't want to mess things up. So they just go along with the status quo.
They're gatekeepers.
They're gatekeepers.
They're
They
totally
do
gatekeepers.
not want mainstream mass Black success. They don't.
And that's from the Trotsky, the Trotsky playbook of communism. Because, like you said, because the Communist Party of USA started in where? Chicago in 1919. And like you say, there's nothing in Chicago. Is that just and I don't feel that there's any type of coincidence. I guess there's no coincidences, but do you think that's a coincidence that the Communist Party of USA started in Chicago, and we know what communism stands for, and we know, but there's nothing there, and Black people have it worse than anybody in Chicago? And you named all of these people that's from Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's something, if you start reading, history, there's certain places where there seems to be this leftist communist connections. Chicago is one, the University of Chicago. There's something weird about Minnesota, Minneapolis. In New York, you've got like Columbia University.
Mhm.
Maybe it's that these people were communists and they were all in these locations and they got together and hatched their little plot. I mean, the whole thing about communism is, if you go back to Marx, it's all about conflict. And so you've got to have
Right.
the oppressor and the oppressed. Black people make up a natural group because we stand, I mean, you can't, everybody's going to look at us and know we're Black.
Right.
So you can paint us all to be the same oppressed group of people. You could ignore anybody who is successful. You can stifle any attempts by the whole group to become successful. And you've got this ready-made, readily identifiable group of oppressed people. And now you've got your conflict.
Right. Trotsky called it the black belt. The black belt of the South is what they called it, when they were ushering in the communism. And here's what I find interesting, and I mentioned this earlier, is that a lot of, I'm not going to even say a lot, I'm going to say 99.9% of the Black social justice warriors or these people that speak about the oppression of Black people, pretty much 100% of these people are all college educated. Some of these people are Ivy League college educated. All of them have degrees. A lot of them have made it, but then they turn around and say, okay, well, you can't make it because of whitey. And a lot of them have white mates.
I know.
A lot of them have white mates, but then they turn around and say, what name can you put on that? I know Manny Johnson called them the real Uncle Toms.
Yeah,
those are the real Uncle Toms.
They are. Well, and I hate to call them Uncle Toms though, because we know Uncle Tom was actually a hero.
A hero.
So I say they are the real race baiters.
Right. Yeah, I called Josiah Henson. For you guys that don't know his real name, he's a hero. He's definitely a hero.
Right.
And I don't like to use the word Uncle Toms too, but for a lack of a better term that they use, because I love when I love when I'm called Uncle Tom, because I know who Josiah Henson
is. Exactly.
And but these people are really the traitors. Let's use this. Are actually the traitors to our race, because these are the same people that are actually keeping down Black people in the Black race. Because me and a friend of mine was having a conversation the other day. And I'm going to say, you can't tell me that all these Black millionaires and billionaires, you got the athletes, the Oprah Winfrey's, like you say, the Barack Obamas, you got all of these Black millionaires and some billionaires in America. And Black people don't have, when you look at the big scheme, anything. We talk about the hospitals, we talk about the banks, we talk about, we have the HBCUs who, and all they do, all those people do is just steal the money. The presidents and the all they do is steal the money, that's given to them. Because you go down to some of these HBC universities, they're giving millions, billions of dollars a year, and they're, and they're bad places.
Right.
I use bad language on my show sometimes. I try to be nice when I have a beautiful lady on the show. I try not to use my sailor. I was a sailor for 27 years. I try not to use my sailor mouth. But these are bad places. They are, you go down these, and you're like, how can you send your kid here? Because they're not good places.
Right. No, I know. I've heard it's bad. And
isn't it frustrating though? Because you look and you're like, I have no words for that, because when you really think about it, right? We have nothing. We hardly have any owned businesses. We have some small businesses, but the big, that we should have, right?
Yeah.
We have our own nation, I guess, if they say the nation of a nation, if that was what it was truly about, but it's really not. It's really about keeping the strife,
Right.
between the races and now the gender, and
Oh yeah.
now the gender is class, gender, and race. That's those are the three things that they've been preaching, and Claudia Jones do it, and that's one of the things that AOC in her speech is doing. You see a lot of these, especially the Black females. That's all they talk about.
Right.
That's all they talk about to keep the gender going. But I'm gonna let you tell us about Take Charge real quick. So tell us about what is Take Charge. And I gave a little brief synopsis on it, but
Yeah.
tell us what Take Charge is. And it is in Minnesota. And I said, I said you were born in Chicago, but you're in Minnesota. But go ahead, tell us about Take Charge.
So Take Charge was started by a man named Kendall Qualls and his wife, Sheila Qualls. Kendall had run for Congress in 2020. He wasn't successful, but his message just resonated with people.
Mhm.
And I mean, he and his wife are the classiest people I think I've ever met. I mean, I love them. They're everything that you would hope that a Black family could be. So they just fabulous people. So he ran for Congress. He didn't win, but people said you can't go away. So around MLK Day in 2021, he launched Take Charge. So at the time it was Take Charge Minnesota, and it was the idea of, the real problem for Black people in America is not systemic racism. It's the breakdown of the family.
Correct.
And so we need to get back to faith, family, and education. So our papers are both, they might as well be communist brags, because you never get a conservative perspective, but they, for whatever reason, ran a story about him and his organization. And I was thinking, man, he is talking my language, because I kept trying to tell people that what was being promoted as Black culture today was not Black culture. It is not the culture that I was raised in.
Correct.
So I said, I want to meet this guy. And I didn't know how to do it, but then a mutual friend connected us. So myself and some other women friends that I have, all like-minded Black women, we met with him and decided we would join him in his effort to try to change the racial narrative. So over the course of the last 5 years, he's been going out and speaking at different places. They've done a ton of videos, done a documentary. Some of us have testified at legislative hearings in the state, just trying to get people to understand that you are believing a lie, and that Black people have to solve our own problems, and it starts with family. So Take Charge is now spread to other states, and the new focus at the moment is to make marriage be important again to our community. So that's one initiative. It's kind of make marriage cool again. Mm-hmm. And then the other initiative is through education. So you, in the beginning, you'd mentioned school that I had started. So I started my school before, I started working on starting my school before I even connected with Kendall. So my school is not part of what they're doing, but they have recognized that the only way we're going to fix our culture is through education. So they are launching Washington Academy, which is a faith Christian school, just trying to give children who are trapped in the public school system a different alternative.
Oh, we definitely need that.
Yeah.
We definitely need that. Yeah, and I popped up the Washington Academy here. This is it, Washington Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's a Christian-based school.
Yeah.
And
so they're scheduled to open this fall. And there is no way we can continue to send Black children in particular into the public school system and expect them to thrive.
Yeah, one of the things I said, and I took some heat for this, and I'm going to see if you agree with me. And it's not being a separatist or anything like that, but I think the worst thing that happened to Blacks or Black children educationally was desegregating the schools.
Yeah. That thought has occurred to me. So my mother was born in Alabama. She was born in Tuskegee, and that's where she grew up and went to segregated schools. And she thought, well, the schools she went to at least were terrible. Mm-hmm. So she was not interested in her children going to segregated schools. So I understand that there were some schools that were not good, but there were some very good all-Black schools. Thomas Sowell has written about them.
Right.
And when Brown versus the Board of Education came along, yeah, they got rid of the bad schools, but they got rid of the good ones too.
Right.
And they got rid of a ton of Black teachers who were good teachers. Mm-hmm. And it forced Black kids into spaces where they weren't really wanted. And I think it's part of the whole let's stir up conflict.
It's part of the communism system. I'm going to bring a lady on next week. She's an expert on education and communism and just all these things here in the United States. She's going to be on next week. Ann Craft Tatus is going to be here. And I say that because we were highly, and I say were, and I still say are for a big segment of the Black population, highly educated. But now, being in the public school system, a lot of our kids can't read and write. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people want to blame where it's the parenting. It's the parenting. Yeah, it has a lot to do with the parenting. I agree. But it also has a lot to do with, sometimes being around the people that's just comfortable with. And I say that because our education level in the 1920s, 1930s, all the way up through the civil rights movement, the literacy rate of Black people was astoundingly over 85, right. 87%.
Right.
When we were segregated.
Right.
And like you say, and they're bad, they are bad schools now. So I mean, yeah, so of course there were bad schools then. There were bad white schools then too.
Right.
Right. And you can still go in some areas where there are still bad white schools or bad Black schools. But when we talk about the majority, now after the civil rights movement, the decline of the Black education, Black kids' education is it's astounding, like around 35, 37%. Now we have kids that can't read, can't write. And unfortunately, a lot of that is in Black communities. Right. Like Baltimore, like Cleveland, right. Like East St. Louis, like these places that have Black teachers, right? They have the Black school boards and things like that. So what changed? What changed to, between having Black teachers in Black segregated schools and Black teachers in public desegregated schools?
Well, see, I think a lot was going on. So you get rid of segregation in schools, but in the 60s, and this is just my own belief as a Christian, they took out the Bible, they took out prayer. So the public school environment became this place where there was no moral foundation. And so then that affects behavior. And they stopped disciplining because, particularly in the Obama administration, they said that too many Black kids were being disciplined. And so it's just been a free-for-all since 2014. So you've got a lack of discipline. I know from running a school, you cannot teach in a disruptive environment. The other thing they did was they changed the way they taught reading. So they used to teach reading where kids would learn how to learn the sounds the letters made. And
they used to teach phonics like we were taught,
right?
Right.
They got rid of teaching phonics. So now there's no discipline and the kids can't read. And then the third thing I think they've done is for the last, for sure, 20 years, they've trained the teachers to tell their Black students, you're a victim, you're oppressed.
CRT.
The system is against you. You don't have to behave. The message that sends is education doesn't matter because I'm going to end up dead anyway or in jail.
Right.
So there's no incentive. Nobody ever, so I never had, well, that's not true. In my entire K through law school, I had 2 Black teachers, one in high school, one in law school. Everybody else is white. Not a single person ever told me, you know, you're not going to be able to do this. In fact, they were the ones telling me, you need to go to law school. You can go to law school. You can do this. And then when I was like, I don't know, they're like, you're going to law school. So,
you know, and you did, you know, and you had the parents, like you said, the one of the big things is the breakup of the nuclear Black family. By far, I think that's probably the number one thing. I mean, because I went to high school, you know, I got my degree. And my son, you know, I brought my sons up the same way that I was brought up. My son was valedictorian of school. He's a medical doctor now. You know, he was never told that. None of my sons have been told that you can't be who you want to be or you can't do anything. You know, and here's the thing. You know, and I tell people this a lot of times, right? I refused to have my sons in a predominantly Black school district. My sons grew up in a predominantly white, like I did, school district. Is there a difference? Is it that big a difference? And if it is, why? Why is that? Like you were taught, you were told that you can be anything you want to be, go to law school, you can do that, right? And so why is that? Why is it that, you know, we have kids that grow up and still today in a white school system and kids that grow up in a Black school system, and it's a totally different, because I know kids are a product of their environment, is and are the school systems, and this is where I tie it in with this Democrat Party stuff, is the school systems in the Black neighborhoods part of the communist agenda here in the United States?
Well, the teachers' unions are running the show here. And if you look at what the teachers' unions' interest is, it is not in educating children. It is in indoctrination and creating this communist type socialist society. And so I think if you are in a predominantly white school district, most of those white parents still have the expectation that their child needs to get a good education and needs to be successful. There's no white parent saying being smart is acting white and that's a bad thing.
Math is white.
Math is white. Yeah.
You know that.
Writing a full sentence and using proper grammar is white. You don't, or being on time. So when I decided I wanted to start a school, I had been volunteering in my school district, which is predominantly white, in a very nice area of the Twin Cities, supposedly one of the better school districts. But I'd have these teachers tell me that they'd been to professional development training where they would be told
communism training.
Basically, because they'd be told
communism training.
Yeah. They'd be told that their Black students, their culture was that they couldn't be on time, and it was just cultural that they would just jump up and run out of class, and that they would fight. And this is what, and then they were being told that if they didn't accept all of this, they were being racist.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right. Isn't
No.
that frustrating? Yeah, like what?
Yeah, I'm like, do you not see who I am? This isn't, no.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're being told a bunch of nonsense, but this is what they're doing. And so you have these teachers who are trained. Basically, the Black people are helpless, oppressed victims and can't and shouldn't learn anything. And then you're in this all Black school. And there's no parents saying, what are you talking about? I want my child to get a first class education.
Mhm.
So there's nobody advocating for those children in those all Black systems.
And most of the teachers and teachers unions and everyone that's down there, the school boards, the principals, because they get paid for, they get a lot of money for education.
Right.
They ain't doing nothing with the money but sucking it up. But and this is what they do. And these are the gatekeepers. I hate to keep saying this, but
It's true.
these are the gatekeepers of our children, and these are the people that are claim that they're for the top education, but they're against school choice.
Right.
They're always against school choice, and they can never answer. Be like, well, if you want my kid to have the best education, then you should be for school choice, and I should be able to take my kid anywhere I want to. Then, right? But that's not the case.
Well, and conveniently, their kids don't go to the Black schools.
Yeah, they go to the private schools.
They go to private schools.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's that's the lie that people believe about communism and socialism. They think everybody's going to be equal. That is not the way it works. The people who are the gatekeeper party leaders, they're living high on the hog, and you are starving to death.
So where do we go here in America, right? Because like I see it every day, and once you see it, it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I know.
So everything that I see, even with the Trump thing, right? And I voted for Trump, and I'm a conservative and ran on the conservative party, as a Republican. But and when you look across the aisle, when you see Hakeem Jeffries, you see, like say the AOCs, they bring them in. You see the Jasmine Crockett's.
Oh God.
You see that all of these educated Black people or Hispanic people, I don't use people of color because, that's a, term used to group us all together just for an agenda.
Yep.
Right. Just for an agenda. So separate me. I'm separated. Right.
Yeah.
I'm separated from the people of color, but, so where do we go? So people, what do you do? What do you do? You're in, like say, great part of Minnesota. I'm glad you're not in Little Mogadishu. I call it Little Mogadishu down there in Minneapolis. And you've been there. Let me ask you this, because you've been there and you saw it. A lot of people see it. And a lot of people don't know what happened to Minneapolis. I do. But do you agree with the refugee resettlement program here in the United States?
So, after the Vietnam War, you had the Vietnamese people coming and you had the Hmong coming. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was a legitimate effort, especially for the Hmong, because many of them had helped the United States Army and they were being killed because they were considered traitors.
Right.
And actually, that group of people, for the most part, it isn't necessarily that they've assimilated, but they are at least not making trouble and they're not hating on America. This whole Somali thing, I don't even know what that was all about. It happened right under my nose. I did not realize that Obama was shipping boatloads of Somalians over here. They have no desire at all to become any way, shape, or form American. I drove over to Minneapolis because the area they've kind of settled in is near the University of Minnesota Fairview Hospital. I had to go over there for a procedure and I thought I was in another country.
Mm-hmm.
you know, between the women all covered up and the men, and I'm like, what in the world is going on here?
Mhm.
You can't bring a group of people in large numbers into your country and not assimilate them without their culture putting pressure on your culture. And if they're breeding faster than you are,
Which they are. I said that. I said that last week.
or-
They're gonna breed because they don't believe in killing their babies in the womb
No.
like we do. You know, and they're gonna outbreed you, and soon, like
Right.
like that's how they get the Ilhan Omars, and that's
Right.
how they get the Dearborn, Michigans, and the little
Yep.
Mogadishus in Minneapolis. Because after a couple of generations, they're the minority. I mean,
Right.
I'm sorry, they're the majority.
Majority. Yeah. No, I know. And I said I had lunch with a woman, and she's white, but I said to her, do these white, she's conservative, but I said, do these white liberal women not understand what's going to happen to them if these Somali people take over? I mean, what is wrong with them?
Well, they don't. I mean, well, because they think that they're the friends of the Negro. you know,
Well,
that's the communist thing, right? We're your friend, and Malcolm X said it right there, our biggest enemy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, Malcolm. A lot of people. You go back and look at Malcolm's teachings, and you look at Malcolm prior to his trip to Mecca or his trip after, and he became a Sunni Muslim.
Right.
He changed. He had changed because he said there were white Muslims that he actually saw, that were his brothers over in Mecca, and that changed him a little bit. And so he started to come back. And this is one reason why I think Malcolm was assassinated.
Yeah. Convenient, isn't it?
Convenient, right? Because he was starting to move the black people and actually start waking black people up to the white liberal.
Mm-hmm.
To the white liberal.
Right.
And and they couldn't have that.
No.
They couldn't have the the conservative blacks and conservative whites actually teaming up against the white liberal. What? So we got to get rid of that. And Martin Luther King, like I say, he may have been waking up and he was no more used to them, because he could bring the masses. And I think because after MLK and Malcolm X actually met together before both of them was assassinated, I think that's when the plot to assassinate them both really took place. Because if they ever came together,
right,
if they ever came together and united, then that would have been a force formidable for the Communist Party. And that's what it is. I mean, it's just so clear to me, actually, doing this series and looking at everything. Like I could be here for a year on this, but it's so clear that the Communist Party, the Democrat Party, is the Communist Party here in the United States.
Yeah,
because they preach the same thing.
I mean, and it's hard to know whether that was always what they were, or if they infiltrated. I mean, they infiltrated a lot of places, and obviously they found a home.
Well, the church was the main one. I mean, because black people went to church. I grew up in the church, and Julia Brown testified, and I said this last week, testified that, and Trotsky and the communists, that, and even Manning Johnson, he said that they infiltrated. Their main target was the black church.
Yep.
Was the black church, and that's how the Communist Party dug in the roots within the Negro race, and using the Negro was through the church.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's insane, right?
It is. Well, I mean, when you listen to Manning Johnson, you read his book, and you're just like, why didn't we know this? Where has this book been?
Here's the book. Exactly. There's the book. If you see it, it's called Communism, Colors, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. It's $7 from Amazon. Yeah, you guys want to go read it? $7 from Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, and you like to say books like this and the Thomas Sowells. I mean, they've been hidden from us, and they've been hidden by design.
Mm-hmm.
from us. I read the I don't know if you ever read these, but and then I'll let you go here because I didn't know how long you want to stay anyway. But in 1963, the 45 Communist Goals was read into
In
the
the Congressional Record.
Congressional Record,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I read those on the show one day, and it's like out of those 45, we got like 37.
No,
of
I
them.
know.
You
Well,
know,
and again, how this is something I did not discover until within the last 10 years. And it's in the Congressional Record.
it's in the Congressional Record. Yeah, yeah, and like I said, they hid and they hid in the church.
Yes.
I'm finding that out, reading this book, reading everything I'm doing. They hid and manifested within
Right.
the church and then the schools.
Yep.
And this is
Yep.
why we have all of these wokies, I call them wokies, all these wokies teaching in the school system.
Right.
And a lot of these people don't even realize that they're communists, that they are actually, Trotskyites. They're,
Right.
that they are, because they don't even understand either, because a lot of it has been hidden from them too.
Right.
Right. I mean, and they just learn, they go to school and they go to these liberal colleges and they learn this stuff. And it's like, oh, they don't even know that they're actually learning communism.
They don't.
CRT, communists.
Right.
Keep the divide, communists.
Yep.
I mean, desegregation. I'm sorry, desegregation is a communist theory. It's desegregation is communist theory. Because that's one of the things. Because the thing is that once you put the races together, because there's no way you can really cause strife and keep strife going if the races are separated.
Right.
So you have to put the races together. You have to, and I like to say now, I don't care. I live in a white state. Shit, I live in Idaho.
Right.
I mean, I've always lived in white neighborhoods, and my sister, she's the biggest liberal, gets on me all the time. You don't know what's going on in black neighborhood. I coached football in a black neighborhood for 20 years. I have fed these kids. I know exactly what's going on in black neighborhoods, right? Will I live in an inner city? No.
No.
I know I won't. I'm sorry. I won't, because because it used to be where, black people, you can go to these because there were segregated cities. You had the blacks, you had the Italians, you had Jews,
Right.
you had Germans, everyone had their own section, right?
Yep.
And when we kept to ourselves or whatever, right? When we were segregated per se in our neighborhoods, there was a time when, and you can go back, look, these neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, were pristine.
Mm-hmm.
Were pristine. I mean, the grass was kept, the neighborhoods were, were kept up because we had the pride of ownership, right?
Yep.
And part of the communists was, we have to get this good pride out of black folk. We need to, make them believe that, hey, segregation is a bad thing, man. You don't look at these brand new school books that Whitey got.
Yeah.
Look at these brand new schools that Whitey got, man. You don't want that. You mean you don't want that? You rather stay here in your pristine neighborhoods and just stay to yourself or whatever. And Whitey got all this new stuff. They got these brand new universities and stuff like that. I mean, this is what the communists did. And be like, yeah, I do want that, man. I should have that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm oppressed, right? So this is where it all began, with this big oppression, because black people, we never, I don't care. When I grew up, I would now knowing that, in poor and I say the ghetto, but the ghetto actually came from Jewish ghettos. That's,
Right.
And so they start the communists started calling, this is in Manning's book, the communists said, well, let's start calling the black neighborhoods ghettos, right? Because why? Because when they feel like that it's a slum, that it's a place that they don't want to be, they won't take care of it, right? So this is when the black neighborhoods started to go down, when they started calling these black areas that black people lived in, just like the Germans, just like the Jews, just like the Italians, when they started calling them ghettos, they stopped taking care of it because they thought they were living in a bad place.
Well, the other thing that happened, and I've heard other people say this about their neighborhoods. So our neighborhood was there was a black side and there was a white side, but it was a middle class, working class, well-maintained neighborhood. They built low-income housing and put it in. And they brought in these single mothers with these delinquent children.
Mm-hmm.
And our neighbor, my father was furious because he said he knew. So, we may look alike, but we aren't necessarily.
They say all skin folk ain't kin folk.
Right. And so they had a different a different view of the world than my parents. And they came in with their culture, and all this other stuff was happening. And now, I was just back down where I grew up, and the house my parents worked so hard to purchase, they would be very disappointed.
Right.
They'd be very disappointed in our old neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, when I read something my friend sent me, because after we left the urban area, I'm not going to call it a ghetto anymore now that I know where the word ghetto,
Right.
where it started and what it means. But when we left the inner city and moved to the suburbs, we were only the third Black family that moved into the suburbs, where I actually ended up, growing up at.
Mm-hmm.
And being from I never knew that I was poor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always had, I guess, everything I wanted, or everything that I needed, And so I never felt like that I wanted something that someone else had,
Mm-hmm.
Because my dad and my mom provided everything that I needed. And,
Right.
and this is where, I believe, like you say, the breakdown of the family, the single mothers, no fathers, these children are not getting everything that they need
Right.
to know that, hey, I have everything I need, right? And someone is in the chat making fun of my country accent because I say ask. It's just say ask. Let's still say ask. I say ask or whatever. But hey, what I'm saying, know what I'm talking about because you understand the context of English, person. And I don't really care about the trolls. It's so funny. But but I think, like I say, we definitely need to get back, and I'm glad your organization take charge and what you're doing. We definitely need to get back to making the nuclear family and marriage cool again.
Yeah.
We have to do that because, like, no one's come to rescue us, and I tell people that all the time.
Nope.
And by the way, people, we're gonna stretch this out to 2 more weeks, okay? Because I said that if I didn't get to the rest of the show because of the guests, because I just like to talk, man. I'm a chatterbox. I just like to talk and see what other people think as well. So we'll get to the rest of this next week, and we'll carry it on for another week if we have to. But we have to start making that a priority
Mm-hmm.
in our neighborhoods,
Right.
And so, because I think we're failing. You're talking about a lost generation, right? We've lost a generation, unfortunately, of our kids, due to us buying in to this communism.
Mm-hmm.
Black people have bought into, and when I say Black people, I know I'm going to get, Black people. No, everything's not exclusive or inclusive, right? But Black people as a whole, unfortunately, we have bought into this game of communism, and we're still being led by the gatekeepers or the Black communist gatekeepers for these, I would say, white communists.
Yeah.
Is that pretty accurate, you think? Or am I off base?
No, I think I have been saying that I call them white liberals, but they are, some are liberal, but some are communist. So white liberals / communists and Black race hustlers,
right,
are the worst thing for Black Americans. Because the rate, I said to somebody, if you have somebody who has money, has a degree, lives in a safe neighborhood, sends their kids to a good school, and they look you in the face and say, I'm a Black person, you're a Black person, we're oppressed. You can't make it in America. That person they're telling that to should say, well, then why are you wealthy?
Right. How did you do it?
Yeah. Don't tell me about how oppressed we are. Tell me how you did it. But they don't. They buy it.
They buy it, right?
I mean, LeBron James says he's afraid to leave his, that Ricky Smiley guy. He had some ridiculous interview recently where he's, I'm afraid.
Isn't it always though, when you say, and I don't mean to cut you off, but isn't it always these beta, and I say beta, these beta black men that they always put out front on these shows, on these news channels, and you get to hear all this stuff that they talk about, but you hardly ever see. Because I beg CNN, please have me on Abby Phillips' show just one time. Just one time. Can you get an alpha black male on one of these shows instead of these beta men, these beta males that's always crying and talks about this victimhood and victimization and just all of this weak stuff, man.
I know.
It drives me crazy.
Oh, I know. I'm embarrassed for them. I'm like, really? Are you happy to be put up there as this weak, pathetic soul?
It's a shame. It's truly embarrassing. And the thing is, some way say, well, the Democrat Party, because the Democrat Party, the Democrat Communist Party is actually led in communism. They always put women out front. I'm learning this, right? They have all these educated black women that were part. And I named the names last week. That was put out front of this Communist Party USA. You have the same thing with the Democrat Party right now. There are no alpha men in the Democrat Party. Name one. Give me one high testosterone or a male that's not low testosterone male in the Democrat Party.
There are none, white or black. I mean, I look at the Democrats in Minnesota that are in leadership, and I'm like,
they're all feminine. They're all effeminate. They're all effeminate. They're beta males. They kowtow to the women. The women lead. I mean, and I said this too, a couple weeks ago. I said, if you find me one city, give me one city. And I'm not difficult. Just give me one city, one locality, one state, anything that is led by, and I'm hard on my people because I want my people to do better. So I use black women a lot because I need my black sisters to wake up, right? You show me one that is led by a black female or a white liberal female, but a black female that's successful, that's doing good. That's not a S-hole city or locality or school system or police force or government agency or judge. I mean, I can just name boom, boom, boom. I mean, name me one, just one.
There are none.
Come on. You're telling me as a black female, you can't give me one. You can't give me one Democrat area that's led by a black female that's good.
No, because they're all, I'm sorry, those people are incompetent.
Right.
They are. I mean, it's just the truth. I'm sorry. It's too bad, but.
So I'm not a misogynist for saying that, right? I'm not a traitor to my race for saying that. I'm not, that I care, but I'm being facetious. But
the truth is the truth.
Truth is
truth. It just is. I'm sorry. These cities are falling apart. The school systems are falling apart. And the men are no better. I mean, Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Oh my God.
Oh, why does he still have a job? Is there not enough people to repeal that man? He is what is he on his approval rate is like 6% or something, and he's still. I mean, the city is what, 700 million or more in debt. The school system is in debt.
It's awful.
It is unbelievable. And this guy is a man. I mean, he's a commie. Just listen to the way he's a commie. He's a communist. And that's the thing. These areas are run by communists, and they are designed to keep the black kids down, to keep their hands on the black kids, to tell them they're not good. They're not, they can't do it. And it's Whitey's fault across town. So, that's the name of the game.
Right.
That's the name of the communist game. And if people can't see that, they need to watch my show for 2 more weeks and I'll be able to tie it all in for them. But but you look at it. And I tell people, and when I ran in 2020, 2022, I said I was bringing the word communist back. I was bringing the word commie back. And I was the only person in America that was not afraid to say that. Now you hear it a lot more, which is actually cool, but we have to start calling it what it is. What's going on in the Democrat Communist Party is communism, and they're still using black people, uneducated black people, because all the black people that they're using are highly educated. They have degrees. They went to college. Every one of them. You find me one that didn't, and find me one of those too. That they're not using. That does not have a college degree. That's not undereducated, because they use the educated black person to keep the uneducated black person down. So and I'm over time, so I ran my mouth too much. Miss Alfreda Baldwin, thank you for I call this the Lions Den, so thank you for coming in the Lions Den.
Thanks for having me
and sharing time with me. You're welcome back anytime. You have my information. If you ever want to come back, talk about your school and what you're doing, please do contact me and I will bring you right on, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and keep up the good work. I love seeing Black people who are not afraid to speak the truth.
Well, thank you. Me too. I love it. Me too. All right. Well, thank you. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
Okay. Bye-bye. Yo, man, that went quick. Those 2 hours went quick, man. Those 2 hours went quick. Hey, I'm going to stretch out this series because I didn't get nearly. I had troubles, man, this morning. Probably because I came in late from the family and I wasn't really prepared, but I was sort of prepared. But anyway, it is what it is, man. When you do live show, I don't care. I don't care, but I'm glad you all came around, stuck around in the show. And I see Dom lives and my brother's keeper, my man. I saw you in late, man. We appreciate you. Appreciate you over there, man. And and everybody over in Getterland and Rumble. Let me check Jackie. Okay, Jackie is over there. And but hey, you all have a good night and have a great week. Have a great week. Just call out the communism when you see it. Call it out what it is, man. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Call out what it is, man. This country is full of communists. It's full of communists. And I ran on it 2020. I did a radio show. It was on Breitbart Radio, and I could play the clip. Maybe I'll play the clip next week where I said, I am bringing the words commie and communist back to America because we are infiltrated and we need to get the commies out. And yes, I want to bring the HUAC back. I'm a black man saying I want to bring the HUAC back because Joe McCarthy was right. Joe McCarthy was right. So y'all be cool. Y'all stay safe. Like I said, man, I love this new song. So we're going out the way we came in, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll see y'all next week, same time, same place. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Radical Republicans live show with your host, me, Jerome Brother, J Black Mamba. Y'all be cool. Let's rock.
The propaganda is on every channel. They think we stupid like the truth is just too hard to handle. Put on your camo, it's a culture war and load the ammo. They want Antifa ruling everything like it's Seattle. And they want anyone who's fighting to be dead and canceled. They want rainbows in the classrooms and 15 different bathrooms and white guys that hate black dudes. They want war, they don't want peace. They want fentanyl in our streets. They want borders to be weak. I swear the devil lives in California. He a politician. He passing bills that bring chaos and division. Yeah, the devil lives in California. Should be in prison. He got horns, but he tries to keep them hidden. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that. They say that. They love America. We know it ain't that. The devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it. We ain't switching. Y'all are tripping. I guess God just spelled us different. They get celebrities to do they talking. They get mansions while they cram us all into apartments. Tell us it's cool to stay in school and then make you retarded. If you ain't liberal, then they treat you like you human garbage. If you speak up, then you a target. They want their voice through an amplifier. Violence and our flag on fire. No voter ID required. They want war, they don't want peace. They want defund the police. They want you surrounded by screens. The devil lives in California. He a politician. He passing bills that bring chaos and division. Yeah, the devil lives in California. Should be in prison. He got horns, but he tries to keep them hidden. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that. They say that. They love America. We know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it. We ain't switching. Y'all are tripping. I guess God just built us different, dog. The devil is a
Democrat. That's a fact, that's the truth. Look how bad that it gets when it's blue. The devil is a Democrat. That's a rap, it ain't news. And the way they treat America is proof. I swear the devil lives in California, $100 bills. He knows everyone in Hollywood and parties in the hills. Give you everything you ever wanted, plus a couple mil for your soul and your vote, it's a deal.
Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that, they say that. They love America, we know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it, we ain't switching. Y'all are tripping, I guess God just built us different, dog. The devil is a Democrat. And we don't play that, they say that. They love America, we know it ain't that. Cause the devil is a Democrat. And we ain't with it, we ain't switching. Y'all are tripping, I guess God just built us different, dog. The devil is a Democrat.